Man, check 1 2 1 2. Michigan Legend, we back in the building again, man, for that episode 2 of the Michigan prison stories and the famous staking. First of all, shout out to everybody listening. I see we got something going, man. First episode going up. And once again, this is for all my incarcerated brothers, friends, peers, free them all, whether it be from the M.D.O.C, which is Michigan Department of Corrections, or whether it be any of the other FOCs, federal correctional facilities around the world, as well as state. But if I ain't mistaken, I left y'all off letting y'all know how it is when you arrive in Jackson Prison in Michigan. Now, as I explained, Jackson Prison is really what they call a reception center, which is like, once again, it's like a holding center, man. It's like your prison before you actually go to prison. You know, you ride out from your county jail, you ride to the reception center, you get to the point where I left off last time, where you sitting in your cell all alone. Now the next step, as I said, your last stop was the nurse's station, where they drew about 3 or 4 vials of blood from you without explaining to you what was going on. But as you sitting on your bunk, you reading these papers and realize one of these papers is a HIV test. So not only have they put you through a full body physical, took your blood, and did everything else to you and sent you in the cell with an army bag, you can't leave this reception center until your HIV test come back. And that's one of the spookiest moments I ever experienced in my life. And if you ask anybody who went to prison, they probably would say the same thing. I mean, imagine you sitting in a cell for at least a week. Some people ride out in 3 days from their reception center to their parent prison. The parent prison is what they call the prison that you're going to leave and go to when you leave the reception center. Depending on your charge, you might be at a camp. You might go to level 1, which is, supposed to be low-level security. You might go to level 2, which is medium level. And you might go to level 3. Level 3 is close to the doors like a camp. Me, myself, after my experience at Jackson, I ended up at a camp up north called Camp Lehman. And I'll get to that story in a minute, but let's get to this. So anyway, the thing about Jackson back then that was so nostalgic and throwback, you actually can smoke in Jackson at that time. So, while you're sitting there and contemplating life, you can have you smoke. Now back then they had the cigarettes that come in a pouch called buglers. If anybody familiar with buglers, you can get those on the store list, which is called the commissary list. But so I'm sitting on this bunk looking at these papers. Now it's about 3 papers. One of them is your charges, your time, your PSI, pre-sentence investigation, and all that. The other paper is your medical papers and all the things you just experienced coming in, with a sheet of paper explaining all the items they gave you, which I explained when you arrived You get 3 outfits, 4 pair of socks, 4 pair of underwear, 4 t-shirts, skull cap, winter coat, gloves, winter hat, belt, state shoes, which look something like Stacey Adams. They just some black hard bottom shoes, and you'll find when you get in prison, guys actually be shooting basketball in them shoes. One of the funniest things I ever seen. So anyway, me as a young man at that time, I'm reading this paper and I realized to myself that I had never took a HIV test in my life. And I had been running wild. At that time, I had a son, so I knew, of course, it's just something a black man never think about voluntarily to go do, but this is a situation where you have to get a positive result before you ride out. So anyway, the bars lined up, you sitting there, and maybe the next day I would say they'll walk around and slide a white sheet of paper in your door. That sheet of paper is what we call a store list. So you get it, and you find quickly that all the stories you heard about prison is a myth, because you don't see none of the items. You don't see no food on there. See, the thing is, in a reception center, they don't sell food, so you only can get your average necessities and toiletries. And back then, they had a drink called Tang, orange drink. And that was one of the most popular drinks on the store list, because the water in Jackson tasted like eggs. It was spoiled well water, so it really wasn't digestible. But when you get your store in order, you can put the Tang in it and make it digestible. Also on there, very famous, very historic, is a coffee called Keefy coffee. So you're gonna sit in there a few days without nothing, so you can get ready. You sitting on the bunk. Excuse me. Now the thing about it, that next morning when you fall asleep, you gonna notice that your bar is gonna just open. Maybe like 5 a.m. in the morning, you're gonna just hear your bars open. And if you ain't quick on your toes, you won't eat that morning, because you're gonna hear a lot of rumbling and shower shoes scraping. And that's another thing, you get a set of shower shoes, because one thing about prison, jail, any of my real jailers, you don't get in the shower with your barefoot in prison. That's one of the unwritten things that people don't talk about, but it's a fact. Never get in the shower in prison with your bare feet. And I think it's obvious why is that, but if you don't know, think about it. Men in prison, there's no women around, so masturbation is like a sport in prison, I should say. So behind that shower curtain, you never know what another man doing, so you don't want to walk in the shower barefoot. So for my guys listening to this, my girls who may in the future have a unfortunate incident with law enforcement, if you ever go to jail, get in the shower with your shower shoes. So as the story goes, I'm sitting here on the bunk, stressing. Damn, they got me. So anyway, now, mind you, you might get cool with it. So that first day I didn't make it to breakfast. Door open. I jump up looking stupid. Didn't make it to breakfast. Yell out for my the cell next to me. I don't hear nothing, so all them made it. Okay, cool. It's just a walk to breakfast. You walk outside of the cell, gotta walk all the way across the yard to get one brown tray with a scoop of oatmeal on it And if you're lucky, you might get a scoop of grits. Of course, you might get you a piece of square cornbread, and you're gonna get you a cup of coffee that's so clear you can see through it. And you can turn right around, put your tray down after you eat, and march right back to that lonely cell in Jackson. Now, of course, it's daylight now. And as the morning progresses, you get the news that around noon, the gate just gonna automatically open again. And you can, feel free to come out and walk and get your lunch. Now, those are the only times you're out, besides one other time, and that's for dinner, maybe around 5. Besides that, it's a sale situation. Now, the next week you'll be in better shape because you could be to put your commissary list in. If you had cash from your county jail in your account, you can order from there. Or by then you'll be done got your phone call, because you do get to go in the yard once or twice for like maybe an hour during the day. And once you get your coffee and you get your Tang, and you get you some buglers, some matches, pencil paper, you get your, some better toothpaste, toothbrush, deodorant. You get yourself together, get all the toiletries you need. You actually be sitting there smoking a bugler, kind of trying to motivate yourself. It ain't bad after all. But, it's set up and designed to where you're gonna have a moment of reflection, just sitting there knowing that you finna ride out to another facility, and that's where you finna be for the remainder of your time. So now days go on, guys around me, I'm steady seeing different guys leave, and I'm starting to get nervous, to be perfectly honest. I'm like, why haven't I left yet? Because to leave, your HIV test must come back negative and all your other blood work. And one of those mornings, they're going to call you to a section called classification, where you sit down and give them your family history, and they decide what level you go to. In my case, that was my first charge. I think I was a level 1-2, which means they could send me to a level 1 or a 2. So anyway, a few days go past, and one morning they just walked past and the officer yelled, and mind you, it had been a long week. I'm in there smoking buglers like a sailor on a ship, drinking Keefy coffee. My favorite is the Colombian, the yellow bag. I'm drinking Keefy coffee and smoking buglers and writing raps and writing letters. And that's another story. I'm going to get to that in the next episode on how people play you when you actually ride out to prison. It's a dirty game, y'all. And for y'all listening who been, y'all already know we got to stay free out here, people. Because when they get you in there, man, it's a concrete jungle. You get a chance to find out who your real friends and who was just out there riding the fame. So one of those magical mornings, after everybody around me, most people had left, so that's a beautiful morning when they call you and let you know, pack it up, in a few hours you riding out. That means they got your situation together. They done figured out what facility you going to. You won't know till you get there, but they will be nice and let you know upon the ride out. In my case, I'm chilling in the morning, smoking, a little bugler up, feeling good because I had a razor blade, had shaved. Because one thing about prison, as miserable as it is, everybody in prison may could tell you what they learned about themselves, that a human being is able to adjust to any environment That's one of the strengths God gave us, man. Any environment you can adjust to. It ain't never bad as it seems. So anyway, I'm chilling, scared. Been scared all week. I ain't heard none. People done rolled out before me. People done came, left. And the officer just stopped by my thing and slid a yellow piece of paper. Now that yellow paper means your paperwork is done. It's actually your HIV test. It's an HIV test, man. And most black men, being honest, know they never had, man. Man, I look up and see that paper, man. It was like heaven shined in on me. That lets you know that you riding out. So you get the paper, you might get to yelling up the rock, yeah, I got my paper. I know I did. Yeah. Hey, I even called home the next day. Hey, I got my HIV. Yeah. So anyway, get the paper, and maybe an hour later, officer stopped. Yes, Mr. Bogan, you riding out in the morning. I said, hallelujah. Man, listen, get up. So now you know you got to pack all your stuff. And there it is, everything that you got out that army bag. Of course, you've been wearing it all week. And that's another thing. They come by every day or two and get your laundry. They give you a clear net laundry bag as well. I forgot to add that. Clear net laundry bag comes in the army bag. When you put your laundry out, you gotta put it in a bag, tie it up, and hang it outside your cell. And one of the trustees come by, pick up laundry, and bring it back. And you write your prison number on your laundry bag. That's how they're able to know it's you. So here it is. I'm riding out. Now you at the facility and you realize you're here by yourself. So the men that you met, they're not your friends. Most of them already done rolled out. So you yelling up an empty block, letting strangers know you finna ride out to another prison, and you happy. You happy for several reasons, but you're happy to get away from the notorious Jackson prison. And like I say, that's just a quarantine holding facility. Very legendary and known in Michigan. Everyone has been through there if you've been to any facility around the world, around the state of Michigan. So my journey continues with me walking out of the cell, being escorted by a guard down to the desk, and them letting them know that Bogan is riding out. And I'm carrying this army bag, and I walk outside with the guard to a transport van that they call the Bluebird. This van is finna get you to your parent facility, which is the facility that you riding to, and come to find out, they done sent me up north. Wow. So here it is. I'm level 1, and I'm heading up north. And I'm camp eligible, which means I might be going to a camp. And that's what I'm hoping, because I heard camps is sweet. But where I landed was a place called Camp Lehman. That's located in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. And that's where my prison journey starts. Stepping off the Bluebird, walking up to the reception center in Camp Lehman, getting pretty much the same process, but more swifter than I did in Jackson, and being told that I lock in a wing called A Wing. And as I walk to A Wing, I see around that there's plenty of other buildings, and I'm only going to one. On the next episode, I'm going to tell y'all how my experience at Camp Lehman went. And I hope you enjoyed these prison stories so far. Whether you at work or whether you just riding in your semi-truck, just getting the groove, man. Take your time, push like and subscribe, and I'm going to take y'all further on the next episode of the Michigan Prison Stories, brought to you by MLTV. Yes, indeed.